Hello everyone, welcome to my political journalism news channel. The story for today is the US and NATO have responded after Russian President Vladimir Putin put Russia's nuclear forces on high alert as fierce fighting continues in Ukraine. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said the move was part of a wider pattern of unprovoked escalation and manufactured threats from the Kremlin. This is really a pattern that we've seen from President Putin through the course of this conflict, which is manufacturing threats that don't exist in order to justify further aggression, and the global community and the American people should look at it through that prism, Psaki told ABC's George Stephanopoulos on This Week. She added, "This is all a pattern from President Putin and we're going to stand up for it. We have the ability to defend ourselves, but we also need to call out what we're seeing here from President Putin." When asked about further military aid or sanctions, Ms. Psaki said that the US is prepared to send more humanitarian, economic and defensive military supplies. NATO Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg told CNN, in reaction to Russia's nuclear alert, "This is dangerous rhetoric. This is a behavior which is irresponsible." The practical meaning of Putin's order was not immediately clear. Russia and the United States typically have land and submarine-based nuclear forces on alert and prepared for combat at all times, but nuclear-capable bombers and other aircraft are not. In giving the directive, the Russian leader also cited hard-hitting financial sanctions imposed by the West against Russia, including Putin himself. Speaking at a meeting with his top officials, Putin directed the Russian defense minister and the chief of the military's general staff to put the nuclear deterrent forces in a special regime of combat duty. Western countries aren't only taking unfriendly actions against our country in the economic sphere, but top officials from leading NATO members made aggressive statements regarding our country, Putin said in televised comment. Peace talks on border. The office of Ukraine's president has confirmed that a delegation will meet with Russian officials as Moscow's troops draw closer to Kyiv. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's office said on the Telegram messaging app that the two sides would meet at an unspecified location on the Belarusian border and did not give a precise time for the meeting. The announcement on Sunday came hours after Russia announced that its delegation had flown to Belarus to await talks. Ukrainian officials initially rejected the move, saying any talks should take place elsewhere than Belarus, where Russia placed a large contingent of troops before it invaded Ukraine starting Thursday. Zelensky's office said Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko, a Putin ally, has taken responsibility for ensuring that all planes, helicopters and missiles stationed on Belarusian territory remain on the ground during the Ukrainian delegation's travel, talks and return. The meeting news came shortly after President Vladimir Putin ordered Russian nuclear forces put on high alert in response to what he called aggressive statements by leading NATO powers. Hope of peace talks comes as Russian forces advanced on Ukraine's second-largest city with street fighting breaking out in Kharkiv and Russian troops squeezed strategic ports in the country's south on Sunday. The advances appeared to mark a new phase of Russia's invasion, following a wave of attacks on airfields and fuel facilities elsewhere in the country. Until Sunday, Russia's troops had remained on the outskirts of Kharkiv, a city of 1.4 million about 20 kilometers south of the border with Russia, while other forces rolled past to press the offensive deeper into Ukraine and Ukrainian fighters put up determined resistance. Videos posted on Ukrainian media and social networks showed Russian vehicles moving across Kharkiv and Russian troops roaming the city in small groups. One video showed Ukrainian soldiers inspecting Russian light utility vehicles damaged by shelling and abandoned by Russian troops on a street. "We are fighting for our country, fighting for our freedom because we have the right to do that," Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said. "The past night was tough, more shelling, more bombing of residential areas and civilian infrastructure. There is not a single facility in the country that the occupiers wouldn't consider as admissible targets." Huge explosions lit up the sky early Sunday near the capital, Kyiv, where terrified residents hunkered down in homes, underground garages and subway stations in anticipation of a full-scale Russian assault. But Ukrainians also volunteered en masse to help defend Kyiv and other cities, taking guns distributed by authorities and preparing firebombs to fight Russian forces. Zelensky denounced Russia's offensive as state terrorism. He said the attacks on Ukrainian cities should be investigated by an international war crimes tribunal and cost Russia its place as one of the 5 permanent members of the United Nations Security Council. Russia has taken the path of evil, and the world should come to depriving it of its UN Security Council seat, he said. Officials maintained a 39-hour curfew to keep people off the capital's streets until Monday morning, complicating the task of assessing the intensity of the fighting. Zelensky's office said explosions were reported at Kyiv International Airport. Flames billowed from an oil depot near an airbase in Vasilkiv, a city 37 kilometers south of Kyiv where there has been intense fighting, according to the mayor. Russian forces blew up a gas pipeline to the east in Kharkiv, prompting the government to warn people to cover their windows with damp cloth or gauze as protection from smoke, the president's office said. Initially, the Kremlin said Sunday that a Russian delegation had arrived in the Belarusian city of Gomel for talks with Ukrainian officials. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said the delegation includes military officials and diplomats. The Russian delegation is ready for talks, and we are now waiting for the Ukrainians, Peskov said. Peskov claimed Ukraine had proposed holding talks in Gomel. He added that the Russian military action was going forward pending the talks start. Zelensky's advisor Mikhailo Podolyak dismissed Moscow's offer as manipulation, adding that Russia keeps lying and emphasizing that Ukraine hadn't agreed to talks in the Belarusian city. Speaking in a video message Sunday, President Volodymyr Zelensky named Warsaw, Bratislava, Istanbul, Budapest or Baku as alternative venues. He said other locations are also possible but made clear that Ukraine doesn't accept Russia's selection of Belarus, given the Russian allies' role in Moscow's 3-day-old invasion. Warsaw, Bratislava, Budapest, Istanbul, Baku, we offered all of them to the Russian side and we will accept any other city in a country that hasn't been used for launching missiles, Zelensky said. Only then the talks could be honest and put an end to the war, Russia's plans unclear. Russian President Vladimir Putin hasn't disclosed his ultimate plans, but Western officials believe he is determined to overthrow Ukraine's government and replace it with a regime of his own, redrawing the map of Europe and reviving Moscow's Cold War-era influence. The pressure on strategic ports in the south of Ukraine appeared aimed at seizing control of Ukraine's coastline stretching from the border with Romania in the west to the border with Russia in the east. A Russian Defense Ministry spokesman, Major General Igor Konashenkov, said Russian forces had blocked the cities of Kherson on the Black Sea and the port of Berdyansk on the Azov Sea, cutting Ukraine's access to its seaports that would deal a major blow to the country's economy. It also could allow Moscow to build a land corridor to Crimea, which Moscow annexed in 2014 and until now was connected to Russia by a 19-kilometer bridge, the longest bridge in Europe, which opened in 2018. Russia's military also put increasing pressure on strategic ports in the south of Ukraine, blocking the cities of Kherson on the Black Sea and the port of Berdyansk on the Azov Sea. He said the Russian forces also took control of an airbase near Kherson and the Azov Sea city of Henichesk. Ukrainian authorities also have reported fighting near Odessa, Mykolaiv and other areas. Ukraine's health minister reported Saturday that 198 people, including 3 children, had been killed and more than 1,000 others wounded during Europe's largest land conflict since World War II. It was unclear whether those figures included both military and civilian casualties. The United Nations Refugee Agency said on Sunday 368,000 Ukrainians have arrived in neighboring countries since the invasion started Thursday and continues to rise. The UN has estimated the conflict could produce as many as 4 million refugees, depending how long it continues. Stronger sanctions from the West. As Russia pushes ahead with its offensive, the West is working to equip the outnumbered Ukrainian forces with weapons and ammunition while punishing Russia with far-reaching sanctions intended to further isolate Moscow. Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida announced Sunday that Japan has decided to join the US and European nations in cutting key Russian banks from the SWIFT international financial messaging system, to step up sanctions against Russia for its invasion of Ukraine. Japan will also freeze assets of Russian President Vladimir Putin and other top Russian officials, while sending $100 million $138 million in emergency humanitarian aid to Ukraine, Kishida told reporters. The Russian invasion of Ukraine is a unilateral attempt to change the status quo, and the act shakes the foundation of the international order. It's an outright violation to international law, and we strongly denounce the act, Kishida said. Japan stands by the Ukrainian people who are fighting hard to defend their sovereignty and territory, their homeland and families. In a statement welcoming new sanctions from Japan, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said the U.S. and its allies will continue working closely together to impose further severe costs and make Putin's war of choice a strategic failure. The US, European Union and United Kingdom agreed to block selected Russian banks from the SWIFT global financial messaging system, which moves money around more than 11,000 banks and other financial institutions worldwide, on Saturday as part of a new round of sanctions aiming to impose a severe cost on Moscow for the invasion. They also agreed to impose restrictive measures on Russia's central bank. The US pledged an additional $350 million $484 million in military assistance to Ukraine, including anti-tank weapons, body armor and small arms. Germany said it would send missiles and anti-tank weapons to the besieged country and that it would close its airspace to Russian planes. Canada announced Sunday it would join the many European countries closing its airspace to all Russian aircraft, with Transport Minister Omar Al-Gabra saying Canada will hold Russia accountable for its unprovoked attacks. Most European countries have either announced they are closing their airspace or said they intend to do so. So far, Spain, Greece, Serbia and Turkey are among the few left that haven't joined in the move against Russia. Greece is sending ammunition, assault rifles and missile launchers to Ukraine in response to a request by Ukraine's government. The military aid was decided at a meeting Sunday morning between Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis and senior defense officials. A C-130 plane with the equipment has arrived in Poland, and a second one will arrive later, a defense ministry official said. 2 more planes carrying humanitarian aid such as blankets and food have also left Athens International Airport for Poland, the spokesman said. Responding to a request from Ukraine's Minister of Digital Transformation, tech billionaire Elon Musk said on Twitter that his satellite-based internet system Starlink was now active in Ukraine and that there were more terminals en route. Putin sent troops into Ukraine after denying for weeks that he intended to do so, all the while building up a force of almost 200,000 troops along the country's borders. He claims the West has failed to take seriously Russia's security concerns about NATO, the Western military alliance that Ukraine aspires to join. But he has also expressed scorn about Ukraine's right to exist as an independent state. Ukraine's ambassador to the US, Oksana Markarova, said Ukraine was gathering evidence of shelling of residential areas, kindergartens and hospitals to submit to an international war crimes court in The Hague as possible crimes against humanity. The International Criminal Court's prosecutor has said he is monitoring the conflict closely. That is all for today news. Thank you for watching to my channel. Please be sure to leave your comment and subscribe below for more news updates.